Clayton Kershaw agrees to his 17th season in Dodger blue. Chip Kelly is a very confused man. And the Chargers add 2 coordinators to their coaching staff. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. And it is February 7, 2024. We added a new subscriber to the Angeleno Familia yesterday. Thank you for getting in on the ground floor. We're going to do our best to keep you informed here. And if you like being in the know about LA sports, and trust me, we got a lot to get to, then clickety-clack the like button, clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means, comment. Totally look forward to hearing from you. Now, before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. There were no games involving LA teams yesterday, but today we had New Orleans at the Clippers at 7 o'clock. Credit where it's due. The Clippers have the best record in the Western Conference. Meanwhile, UCLA is at Stanford. The Bruins have won 5 of their last 6, and USC, yes, they still play basketball. Yes, they're playing Cal. The game is going to be at 8. But what do you say we get to the news? Like I said, we got a ton. The New York Post has reported that 3-time Cy Young Award winner Clayton Kershaw has agreed to come back to the Dodgers. The deal is for a year with a player option, which, yes, could mean year 18, with Shohei Ohtani also in the rotation, which would be pretty damn cool. But the bigger lesson, instead of this, that, and the other, is it shows why patience is indeed virtuous. See, for the last couple of years, there was a question about Kershaw. Was he going to retire? Was he maybe going to the Texas Rangers? He grew up in Dallas, for Pete's sake, and that's Rangers adjacent. So why didn't the other options appeal as to returning to Los Angeles? Now, if I were to guess, retirement didn't appeal to him that much because of what the Dodgers did in the offseason, right? Kershaw won his ring in year 1 with Mookie Betts. When the Dodgers acquired Betts, he was widely considered to be the second best player in baseball behind Mike Trout. Now, with Shohei Ohtani, if he did not have Tommy John surgery, you're talking unquestionably the most dominant, best player in the game today. Definitely considered to be better than his former teammate, Mike Trout. LA now has a legit shot at another ring. So Kershaw, of course, would look at that. As for the other option, yeah, the Texas Rangers are the defending champs, but I would bet you that the Rangers simply weren't willing to wait half a season. You see, keep in mind, Kershaw had shoulder surgery. He will not be able to pitch until at least, after the All-Star break? The Rangers don't have time to wait. They have to defend their title, and they're already without Max Scherzer. They're already without Jacob deGrom. If Kershaw was completely healthy, you could bet your bottom dollar Texas would be all in. But they cannot afford to wait until July and August. For all they know, they might get complacent, the pitching staff might not hold up, and they'd be out of contention. So, yeah, all signs pointed to a Dodgers return for Clayton Kershaw. Now, this, of course, brings us back to the Idiot Scribe rumor board. As you know, at its apex, there were 42 rumored players that the Dodgers were apparently going to go all out to go for, right? 42. The Scribes wound up hitting on 8 of them. They missed on 18, 17 are still pending. So 8 of 42, 1 of 5, a little bit less actually than a 200 batting average. Now you might think that that's okay, but keep in mind most of the Scribes' hits on all of these hot rumors that they were peddling you guys for 3 months came with players that they either retained, in other words, were on the roster last year, or were names where it was patently obvious there was an interest. For example, Shohei Ohtani. It was a name that it was obvious that they were interested in and going to do whatever it took to get him. People they retained, Ryan Brazier, Kershaw, Joe Kelly, Jason Hayward, etc. So in other words, the wilder the rumor, the more likely the scribes were going to be wrong. They are not going to add all the 17 names, much like they weren't going to add all 42 names either. That's insane. The only alleged surprise of the Dodgers offseason, if you probably think about it, is trading for Tyler Glasnow. Maybe signing Yoshinobu Yamamoto. But not really. So if you want to give the scribes credit for hitting on 8 dudes on that rumor board when it was at its apex, go right ahead. But their accuracy is worse than mobsters who go on TV and tell you that they never miss a football pick. We've been keeping track, meanwhile, on where the Dodgers minor leaguers rank because MLB.com about a week ago listed only 2 LA prospects in the top 100 overall. And this was extremely disturbing because for years we had been hearing about LA had this exalted minor league system. So what gives now? The upshot? I can tell you that the Athletics top 100 list came out and it's a little better. The Dodgers have 4 players on there. Josue De Palma leads at number 25. The upshot on him, he hits like a madman, but he runs like he has a refrigerator on his back. So even though he's listed currently as an outfielder, his future might be at first base. Pitcher River Ryan is number 33. He could get to the bigs this year. Catcher Dalton Rushing, number 86. Pitcher Gavin Stone, 95. And by the way, just like the MLB.com list, catcher Diego Cartaya has dropped off the rankings completely. But the Dodgers are trying to rework his swing. Double-A Tulsa was the first stop the guy had ever had in his career where he found it difficult to hit. The drama surrounding Chip Kelly has reached a level that if I were UCLA athletic director Martin Jarmond, I would call Kelly into the office and just say, look, bro, is or is you ain't my coach. Time to decide, coach. Either poop or get off the pot. Because now the Seattle Times is reporting that Kelly interviewed with the Seahawks last night for an offensive coordinator gig. To be clear, while I don't put a lot of stock in the rumors from national scribes, I will put some faith in a local Seahawks reporter because you would figure that he would have some sources in the front office. But this story about Chip Kelly has become extremely tiresome and it's only been a week. Oh, Chip Kelly, he wants to go to Las Vegas Raiders. No. Chip Kelly, he wants to go to the Washington Commanders. Oh, wait, neither one of those teams want him, so now Kelly hires 3 assistant coaches for the Bruins. And now, of course, this new story. So what do you say we do a little cleanup on aisle 5? 1, Kelly has only so many shots at an offensive coordinator gig because there are only 2 such vacancies now in the NFL. The other is in New Orleans. Seattle is interviewing more people than Chip Kelly. The Saints allegedly haven't even considered him. So it's Seattle or he gets his consolation prize by coaching the Bruins. The other takeaway that I get from this, how would you like to be one of the 3 dudes that Kelly hired over the weekend? How's that for job security, right? You were hired over the weekend, and now you found out that the guy who hired you is trying to bolt because he doesn't like his standing at UCLA. That's just not cool, man. Jim Harbaugh did in fact hire Jesse Minter to be the Chargers defensive coordinator. Look, guys, this had all of the surprise of a 90-second Pornhub clip. All the suspense, right? The newspaper in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which primarily covers University of Michigan football, said Harbaugh hired Minter about a week ago. And then the national scribes, they got their panties in a bunch, and they're all like, oh, no, Harbaugh's looking elsewhere. So the final score, local beat writer 1, national scribes 0. If you want to have an idea of the type of defense that Minter is going to run, we actually created a clip specifically on it. It was posted 9 days ago. Changes that could come for the Chargers defense. Now, Minter has wasted no time in starting to build his staff. The Detroit Free Press reports that defensive line coach Mike Elston is going to leave the Wolverines to come to LA. Also, we have clarity on the offensive side of the ball. A couple of days ago, we reported that Greg Roman was in the running for, quote, a prominent role on the coaching staff, unquote. No surprise, he's likely to be the offensive coordinator. This is according to the NFL Network. Roman was the offensive coordinator under Harbaugh, both for Stanford and the 49ers. New Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula thanked the 3 previous defensive coordinators that he's worked under, Wade Phillips, Brandon Staley, and Raheem Morris, which was all very gracious. But what matters more to the Rams is that there are not going to be big changes in terms of how the Rams are going to play. It should be a base 3-4, although you will see multiple fronts. They will continue to play a lot of nickel and a lot of dime packages in the defensive backfield. So in terms of appearance, shouldn't be a big change. It's hard to predict, though, what the Rams will do in terms of free agency, because they do have salary cap space now. Remember, last year they were just ridiculously high over the cap. And this is a team that is not one player away from being a Super Bowl contender. So we should all be a little skeptical about the Rams trying so hard to get that one elite player and just spending that salary cap space that they worked so hard to get. What we can do is talk about what they like to do in the offseason and how that could play for this free agency, using history as our guide. One thing the Rams traditionally have done is to go against the grain when it comes to defensive backs. Very many teams, a lot of teams, if they have a good corner or a good safety, they will pay through the nose to keep them. Consider the Chargers. What did they do with Derwin James? They absolutely hooked him up. They gave C.J. Jackson 2 years ago one of the biggest contracts a defensive back has ever received. Look where it got him. So, as for the Rams, don't be surprised if their best quarterback from last year, Ahkello Witherspoon, goes. Same for safety Jordan Fuller. And that's going to suck when you hear that happen, or if you hear that happen. But that tends to be how the Rams run things. They spend a lot of mid to late round draft picks on defensive backs, coach them up, see what happens. As for players that I think they absolutely want to keep, I would put guard Kevin Dotson on that list, but he's an unrestricted free agent. So you got to figure the Rams are like, we want this guy, but if there's a bidding war, we're not going to go crazy. It wouldn't surprise me if they think that they can keep backup quarterback Carson Wentz. After all, does he even have a market? The Rams will also interview Ricky Brumfield of Georgia Tech for a job coaching special teams, which would be a blessing because you could argue that the special teams unit cost them a couple of games in the regular season last year. Punt coverage, for example, in Baltimore. What about field kicking? That was an abomination before the Lord. So, yeah, a special teams coaching upgrade might be a good idea. We talked earlier about the Idiot Scribe rumor board for the Dodgers. Let's take a look at the Idiot Scribe rumor board for the Lakers. We mentioned that it was reduced by 1. We crossed off Zach LaVine because, after all, you can't trade a guy who's injured. But don't worry, the Scribes couldn't wait to fill that void. They are now claiming that the Lakers have called Detroit, desperately seeking about Danilo Gallinari. So, Gallinari. Big whoop. But we have spent so much time discussing how the scribes are breathlessly talking about who the Lakers want that we have not considered who they want to give away. And I don't mean D'Angelo Russell. They want something back for D'Angelo Russell. I'm talking about just straight up get out of my face giveaway. Do you remember when the Lakers went out of their way to get bigger in the offseason? To help Anthony Davis? Have you also forgotten who they added to help Anthony Davis? Because they're never on the court. The Athletic is reporting that the Lakers would really like to get rid of Christian Wood. They'd even go so far as to give the team that takes Christian Wood a second-round draft pick. Please take this guy off our hands. Wood has been the type of guy who, to put it nicely, wears out his welcome like that. He has been with 8 teams so far in his career. 8. And he's only been with 1 for more than a single year. So, apparently, he's not a nice guy. But you could have figured that out on your own, Lakers, if you had bothered to notice that before he came to LA, he was with 7 teams, right? USC has added to their defense yet again. They have recruited Carlsbad High defensive lineman Ratumana Bulabalabu, which is a very singable name, don't you think? Ratumana Bulabalabu. It's a great name. I hope he turns out to be a lovely player. Very singable name. He originally committed to Washington. He said he connected culturally with Coach Sean Nua down with the Trojans. USC now has 21 players in the class of 2024 that ranks 18th in the country and 5th in the Big Ten. So they should be competitive. MLSsoccer.com previewed the Galaxy season, and you might find this hard to believe, but they don't have any idea of what the Galaxy will be. First in the conference, 14th, no idea. Thanks for nothing, scribes. Totally appreciate it. On the plus side, the writer of this piece admitted he was a coward. And I kind of like it when people admit that they're a coward. It makes them less likely to hit on my wife. So I'm pretty happy with that. If you're going to be a coward, admit it. We have chronicled the Sparks' not-so-secret commitment to a rebuild. They have 3 of the top 8 picks in the upcoming WNBA draft, and all it cost them was a former MVP and 3 years of sucking. But the plus side, that means if you're that bad and you're getting rid of all these players, there are jobs to be had on the roster. Yes, when your president and my president, when he touts how many jobs have been created under his term, you can point to both the healthcare industry and the WNBA. Jobs. So if you dribble with a slightly smaller basketball and you have a dream to be a not quite household name, you too can fill out the bench of the 3-time WNBA champion Sparks. For example, Lexi Brown has extended with the Sparks for 2 seasons, despite the fact that she missed the last 26 games of the regular season last year. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Tell me if you believe that Clayton Kershaw is going to be a difference maker. Do you think Chip Kelly needs to just STFU and coach? And if you do enjoy the content that we provide, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.